Welcome to the Assemble podcast. I'm Don Berger, founder of Assemble Hospitality Group. We build purpose designed spaces for small team offsites and retreats because the biggest things happen in the smallest rooms. This show is about retreats in all forms, corporate, lifestyle, wellness, and even endurance training, and the culture shifts that happen when people step away from the everyday. You'll hear lessons from operators, facilitators, and leaders who know how to design experiences that move the needle. My goal, to give you the playbook for building clarity, trust, and belonging on your team or in your community. All right. Scott Jones, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Sure. If you don't mind, I'll read your bio, probably a little easier than you telling us your life story.
Please do.
You founded Becoming Ultra to bridge the gap between the elite athletes and everyday runners. Your mission is to bring entertainment content, practical education, and world-class coaching to runners with big goals. You host the Becoming Ultra podcast, and you interview athletes and adventurers on Athletes on Fire, and you lead retreats and training camps worldwide. You have a master's in exercise science and over 20 years of coaching experience. You've trained Olympians, pro athletes, and countless endurance runners. And you're based in Fruita, Colorado, where you share your life with Lauren, your wife, and your two boys, Wyatt and West. And I think you've offered a bet to anybody who will try to run them up the mountain. Is that right?
Let's go, baby. Anybody? Yeah. My boys are probably faster than me at this point. They're good little athletes.
Really?
They're getting there. It's pretty cool.
What kind of records are they working with?
Oh, they're just we're just a really active family. So I don't know. A couple years. This is kind of a funny story. It has to do with retreats. Actually, a couple years ago, we did a retreat out here. I want to say 21 or 22. So it's still like in that COVID kind of gray area, So it was kind of a smaller retreat. We only had 5 or 6 people out. Weather sucked the whole time, and people were just having a hard time that week. So the last day, we always go up this mountain called Mount Garfield here in town, and it's 1.8 miles up, and you get just under 2,000 vert. So it's legit. It's a really hard hike/run. Like there's not a lot of
For
running.
the non-runners who are listening, vert stands for vertical.
Yes, yes. So you're going straight up a mountain pretty much. It's got a view of the whole valley, like the wine country and the Colorado National Monument, which is right out here. And my boys came out for the last morning. I told them, I said, if you guys can beat any of the adults up and down this thing, I'll give you $20. So at the time they were 11 and 9, and they beat everybody but one.
Wow.
So
Did they get
it was
$20?
cool. Yeah, I gave them the money. It's the terrain is different. If you're a flatlander coming from like sea level, or if you're not used to like running on technical rocks and scree and stuff like that, most people are gonna be kind of tentative on this stuff. So my boys been running down that stuff since day one, so they're just pretty comfortable on the hill. It wasn't that they were that much more fit than everybody; they just were fearless kids.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. So let's jump into the origins of kind of what you do. What came first, the retreats, or the running for you?
The coaching and the podcast and every other aspect of the business came first, and then I think like a lot of people do, we were looking for ways to connect the people that we were working with, especially with the online presence that this brand has. So I had a friend that had a lodge up in the mountains. It was in their family it was actually a working ranch. It was in their family for years, and they were kind of pivoting to do more retreat-based stuff. So she let us have a go at it, and we took, through the podcast, we brought people out from all over the country, and we really enjoyed it. It's always good to, I'm sure you can attest to this, it's always just good to get around people when you've been communicating in so many different ways. So we did one out there, and then that kind of took off. I've been doing that for almost 10 years now. So
Hell yeah.
I don't know. There's a point where I would do 3 or 4 retreats a year. Now I'm doing 1, maybe 2 a year. My wife's a big part of her business is retreats. She does them all over the world. I stay in the country.
Wow.
In Costa Rica is where I usually do my stuff. But yeah, that's kind of how that was the impetus for everything.
So kind of good message for people starting to plan retreats is kind of build a community first and then kind of think about how to bring those people together. And one of the things I've observed is that retreat organizers often don't have the ability to do the marketing piece because they're focused on the retreats. But if you do the marketing piece, that's already done for you.
Yeah. I mean, I can think of 3 or 4 people who are good coaches and like passionate people who've tried to put on retreats without putting the grunt work in to build community first. And they spend all this time on all the details, and then, they have to cancel it like a month before or something like that because they don't have the numbers that make sense. So
Right.
I would definitely build build some kind of funnel or marketing or community, whether it's online or in your community, your real life community, before you kind of go and put all the work in.
So let's jump into designing the experience. It sounds like you have had 10 years of thought into designing the experience. Walk us through kind of what it started and what it looks like today.
Yeah, well, the way it started, and this is, it's everybody's going to have different ways to do this stuff. A lot of it's based on your personality. Like my personality is kind of like, I'm not really dealing with excuses. If it's too hard, tough. I mean, you signed up for it. It's in the marketing, you know. At the same time, everybody's welcome. Like anytime you have more than two people doing a physical effort, you're gonna have different fitness levels and different abilities and backgrounds and stuff. So it's not about how good you are at the thing. It's just, are you willing to go and get out of your comfort zone a little bit for a small period of time, just a couple hours a day when it comes down to it. But when I first started doing this stuff, I wanted to try to have as much value as possible. So I would hire other local coaches, sports psych people, people with my background that just had a different take on things, college coaches, all these people to come in, and I would stack my schedule. Most of these retreats, at least in the States, when we go to Costa Rica, we do a whole week. But in the States, we would go like a Thursday. People show up Thursday midday, and then we go until Sunday after lunch. And so it's 3.5, 4 days of like pretty active stuff. And I would just stack everything, just lecture, clinic, lecture. And what I realized is doing these retreats in the backdrops of the places that we do them, which is usually really pretty places with really cool trails and mountains and high desert and stuff. I wanted to give people more free time. I realized that really early on. I was stacking schedules way too tight. So, you go do an hour run in the morning, and then you'd have breakfast, and we'd have a clinic, and then we'd have a lecture, and then we'd have an hour and a half of free time. So what I started doing is I would start stacking the education with meals instead of having them separate. So
Nice.
people were learning while they're eating, which is kind of a good way to do it. You have their
Yeah,
attention.
it's interesting on that. The research does show that when people are eating and they're learning, they're more likely to retain because they're
Oh,
not
no way.
thinking about their hunger level.
Yeah, and there's a lot of research on hunger
You're
level
in,
and decision
yeah,
making.
I'm sure. But your intuition led you to the idea of having an education piece and a meal piece at the same time.
Yeah, and like people are coming to be in a cool place, and like most of the grounds of our lodging partners or accommodation partners was really pretty. Or there'd be a pool, hot tub, cool places to chill. You could get massages and stuff like that. So I wanted people to be able to do that stuff and learn. And I would, depending on how many people we'd have multiple coaches, and I would have a short clinic, like 10 minutes before a run. And then I would ask the people who showed up to like ask the coaches during runs and during efforts, if they wanted to do a deeper dive. So it was personal to them. And they're doing it in real time, kind of, while they're moving, so they could apply it right away instead of doing it in a classroom and then trying to apply it. So I think that's probably the biggest change I made over the years, was just like giving more free time in between efforts, allowing people to experience the place and the people. I mean, people were just as happy or way more happy to go hang out by the pool for 2 hours and get to know people and make connections and friendships as they were to sit in a lecture.
Any crazy stories of people who met and kind of like, I don't know, any marriages of 10 years, any best friends?
A lot of friendships. It's one of the hardest things for me in the coaching and in the retreat world is like every time I meet somebody, I want to be lifelong friends with them, and it's just hard to realize like these are all just little seasons of friendship. A lot of times for me as the
Yeah.
person who puts it on, but there are these little pockets of friendships that have started and kept going for 7, 8, 5 years at this point.
Oh
People
yeah.
who met at these retreats, and the very first one I ever put on, it was so unique. It was so unique because we had, I think it was 7 women, and 6 of them were going through either a big breakup or divorce in the same freaking, and we had a couple guys too, but at the same time. So they all connected big. It was just wild. It was just like a weird, perfect storm. So a lot of those ladies connected and kept in touch, and
Beautiful.
yeah, lots of
Well,
friendships made over
it's funny.
the
I like
years.
to say that there are friends for a reason, a season, and a lifetime.
Yeah.
And
I've
it sounds
really
like that a little
leaned
bit.
back on that concept over the last couple of years. It allows me to do my business a little bit better and not get so
Sure.
connected to, I want to be connected to the people, but it's hard to make everybody happy all the
So
time,
how do you show up and kind of like give a shit, but then kind of like, move on? Because I mean, you got to give it your all. Is part of it
Yeah.
introducing the other coaches? Is what do you what prevents you from being emotionally connected to every single person?
Yeah, you know what? It's a work in progress. I don't think I'm very good at it. If people reciprocate, I'll give them the energy back all day long. I have no problem doing that. I think that's what being a business owner and a human being is all about, like connecting with people. But I have gotten better at letting things go. And I don't know if you've talked about this before, but like for any big event, whether you're training for something for yourself as a high level athlete, an everyday athlete, like I would consider myself and probably you at this point in our lives, you go train for a marathon, for instance, and you put 6 months of training into it. And the problem is the event happens on one day in a few hours.
Yeah,
And it's the same thing with retreats. Like people look forward to them, they train for them so they can be in a little bit better shape to come out here. And it only happens for a few days. And there's a really, really big high that we get from that. And I give this talk at all my retreats like, hey, you're going to go home and you're probably going to feel a little down for a few days to a week. It's the endorphins and the excitement of it all happens after events, happens after a lot of big life moments, whether it's a vacation with family or graduations or stuff like that. So just kind of prepping people for the down after. So I've kind of, for myself, planned out things to keep me busy in different ways after these big efforts. My wife does the same. Like she went to Kilimanjaro to take a group of ladies up the mountain last year, and it took her. But besides the jet lag, just the downer from coming off of the adrenaline of
sure.
traveling like that, So kind of prep myself that way. I leave my door open for people that want to communicate and still be a part of
You
it,
know,
but I don't put as much on it as I used to.
there's a term for that. It's called collective effervescence. It's this idea that when we get together, we have this like high, and the research shows that after 6 to 9 months after an event, we continue to have that high, and then it dissipates, and it's actually measured by how we show up to other people. So, for example, if you go to like a multi-day festival, you come back on this high, and then you're actually kinder to other people for quite some time. So
Oh,
there's a real impact on collective effervescence and retreats in particular.
yeah. It makes sense because you can't get it in your day to day. I mean, if you could get it in your
Right.
day to day, I mean, then you wouldn't go on a retreat or you wouldn't go on vacation. That's why we need these breaks and
Right.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So let's kind of jump in, and we talked about this a little bit here, but from an in from let do you have programs for integration? Like, do you have intention setting and then integration, or do you not do that? Some more ceremonial retreats do that, where they have one-on-ones with people before and after to make sure they're kind of settling in, or do you don't feel the need to do that from like a psychological perspective?
No, I mean, we always open the door and tell people that we'll hop on calls and explain how things are going to go. We'll do like a Zoom call and do a Q&A before retreats. And a lot of people they don't even care to get on those things anymore, to be honest with you. They just want to
Yeah.
go and be a part of the thing. So we did that early on, but what I found is we'll give people like 90% of the questions that maybe 95% of the questions are, am I going to be able to keep up with everyone else? Like the
Yeah. People
fastest
have that
runners, the
fear.
most fit
Yeah.
people, and the
Yeah.
slowest. Everybody asks
Right.
the same question. It doesn't matter
Right.
what level you're on. So just putting people at ease. The reason we have multiple coaches is so that everybody can get on the trail and experience the same
Oh, I love
place
that.
in a different way, which is cool.
Yeah. I'll get hopefully the one-legged guy who still crushes, but I really got to go slow because
Yeah.
I
Yeah, in the
really.
mountains too, you have to. Like you live in a mountainous place, like
Oh yeah, I mean
the
I run
night.
at 3,000 feet, regularly.
Yeah.
But once I get to like four, I'm like huffing and puffing. But I also run in actually I run in six as well in central Idaho, but I
Oh
do
yeah.
flat there. Yeah. So let's move on to we touched on a lot about this, but um, how do you think about inclusivity when it comes to having multiple people besides multiple levels besides having multiple coaches? Are your community is quite has a large breadth of listeners
Yeah.
and participants. How do you make sure everybody's included? Not both from a marketing perspective as well as from a retreat perspective.
I mean, the two major differences would be age and fitness levels. Beyond that, it would be like diet stuff. Like, do you have dietary needs? I mean, that's always like we always have people sign, have fill out an intake form before they come out, and it kind of asks what they're running running history is or athletic history is, if they have any injuries or anything that's nagging them right now. Ask for dietary needs, restrictions. But most of these retreat. I mean, I've had people in their mid 20s all the way up to their early to mid 60s at these retreats, and I think just setting expectations when you're going to do physical things and just letting people realize like this is just a run on a day. Like we've all had a crappy run or a crappy workout or just a crappy day. So realizing that unfortunately maybe that day is today for you, but maybe it's not. Like we're just going to go out there and put in a good effort. It's not competitive. I make sure people know that. Every once in a while
Yeah, that's huge.
we'll get one or two people who think they're coming to the Olympic trials, and I have to like not put them in their place per se, but let them know like, hey, I will create spaces for you to push and like hammer and get after it a little bit. But the 1.5 hour run before dinner, that's not the spot. It's going to be on your free time. I'll give you another trail to do. I'll go with you if you need to, if you want some extra miles. So I've gotten better over the years of like letting the people who want to push harder know that they have a space for that. But when it comes down to it, it's really just about the people and the place and the food and the experience. It's not really about training for something big.
So I want to talk about a couple of technical things for the retreat organizers listening. What kind of release do you guys have? Obviously, physical. You need to really think about that. Is the release complete indemnification? How do you think about it? And what kind of insurance policy do you guys have?
Yeah, we just do basic liability off of. It's hard to cover every aspect, as you know. Like these are pretty dynamic events as far as like we're on different trails and different places. The permitting, there's certain permitting depending on where you're at. You have to look at how big your group can be before you have to get a formal permit. Like out here, I think it's 12. Yeah, I think it's 12 people before you have to have a formal permit. So if there are ways to make sure that you're within compliance as far as like having the multiple coaches go off with small groups and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just general liability covered up to like $1 million. That's usually what our venues ask for, and that's well, before we got into this too, like me and my wife had an event company. We put on over 120 races all over the country.
Oh shit. Okay, here we go.
It's very similar to that. The hotel, they're already covered on site. So that stuff isn't really worried. And then all of our coaches have first aid and wilderness first aid stuff in the back pocket, which is really helpful. And then a lot of times you're just kind of relying, a lot of times, especially in foreign countries, you're relying on we have partners every time we go somewhere that's not in the States. So you're relying on their expertise and making sure that they have all of their bases covered. But yeah, so far it's been pretty good. Like you're going to have issues. Like people are they're gonna trip and fall every once in a while. We have our first aid on us. We have our emergency protocols and safety stuff ready to go. The good thing about where we are now is like we have service pretty much everywhere we go, phone service.
Yeah.
That hasn't always been the case where we go. So that gives us a little bit more peace of mind. Like we're within a 15-minute drive to a hospital, no matter where we're at out here. So that nothing bad's happened, knock on wood. But we do have those procedures in place just to
Got it.
take the stress out.
And then I want to quickly just talk about the brass tacks of your retreats. How many people? Where do they? Tell us how many people. How much does it cost roughly? Where are the coaches staying? Tell us the kind of technical stuff that retreat organizers would be interested in hearing that you can share.
Yeah, our retreats range for the 4 days, they're usually in the 1,600 to 2,200 range. Pretty freaking good, honestly. Like compared to a lot of our competition. All in food, lodging. I mean, they got to travel. They got to pay for travel. So we don't take care of travel. They have to get to the hotel. Once they get there, then we're we got vans and all that stuff. So that's all in. I think our minimums, we try to keep our minimum at like 6 or 7. Sometimes we'll go on to 6 if we just like if we like the retreat a lot and we just want to make sure it happens.
Not including coaches.
Not including coaches. We try to keep a 4-to-1 member to coach ratio. That seems to work pretty well. And now that the retreat that I do out here is local, so I come home and sleep in my own bed every night, which is kind of sweet, honestly.
Nice.
It's pretty sweet. Before though, we would always work deals with the accommodations to get free lodging for coaches or really really cheap lodging for coaches, which worked out really well. Yeah, we're paying for coaches' food.
Do you encourage the coaches to connect, or do you kind of try to separate that distance between the facilitators and the individuals?
No, as far as before or after.
No, during. Like, are
Oh
they
yeah.
hanging out? Are they hanging out in the pool with them or?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I mean,
Okay.
everybody's tight the whole time.
They're like
We
camp
want
counselors.
everyone. Yeah, for sure.
Got it.
Yeah, and like I said before, that takes the stress off of giving the value from the informational standpoint, which people are coming for, to being able to have these conversations by the pool about their goals and stuff, which is really cool. And if
Right.
coaches end up coaching some of these people that show up to the retreats, which is really cool.
It's funny because the best things happen in conferences in those like pre-function areas, like that
Yeah.
area right before you enter the main exhibit hall or whatever. That's where the best stuff happens. So that's kind of like your pool or
Always.
your whatever.
Yeah, I learned that. I was telling, uh, was it Kaz who's on earlier?
Julian,
I've been
yeah.
podcasting for like 10 or 11 years, and I've probably recorded over 2,000 podcasts. And I learned after about year one that you hit record the second you get on the call, because so much good stuff happens right before and right after the call. And it's like, dang, I just
Totally.
missed all this really good stuff, because everybody kind of lets their
Totally.
guard down a little bit, you know?
So as we look to wrap up, I want to ask you just a couple questions. Like, why are you doing this? What joy does retreat organizing give you?
At this point, it's easy because we've done it for so long. Like I'm not reinventing the wheel every year, so the stress off of the organization's not there. Getting to see people who like the brand and the stuff that I put out online is really cool, and just learn people's stories. I mean, if you're a coach or a teacher or any kind of like service educational world, like you have to like people a little bit, and being able to teach people and showing them places that you love, and knowing how many people walk away from these retreats feeling refreshed and rejuvenated, and
Yeah.
you have no idea what it's anything else. You have no idea what people are going through at home, and if they can get away for 3 or 4 days, whether everything's great or not great at home, then
Right.
you're making a difference, and that kind of makes me happy for sure.
It's interesting having a retreat facility for me. It's also about sharing the space and sharing Boise and my love for Idaho. And
Yeah.
I don't do any of the programming, but being able to see folks coming in and being like, Boise, what? And then being like, Boise, wow. That kind of transformation that happens is super cool.
Yeah.
Let's jump to some advice you have. We've given so much advice to other retreat organizers. And we've talked about the lasting impact you want to have, but what advice do you have for leaders or even coaches? So maybe like one of your coaches is thinking about taking your job. Like, what would you say apart from starting a community, and apart from the other things we discussed? Anything else stand out?
You don't have to have everything. Doesn't have to be perfect before you launch these things. I would definitely say in any event space. I mean, we've done the races and we've done the retreats. I would much rather under promise and over deliver. I think it's so easy to start just writing copy and like marketing to make something sound so amazing. And if you try to get into your client or your potential client's head on, okay, can I actually deliver on all of this? It's going to create a lot of stress that you don't need. Half the time, people show up to our stuff, and the accommodations and the food is way better. The trails are way better. The coaching's better than they expected, and they leave a lot happier than what we did when we first started events. And this isn't even retreats, as we would just way overpromise and just pull our hair out trying to deliver on things that we at the end couldn't do. So the people who I know who tried to do retreats, like they've spent so much time writing out every detail before they've gotten the first person to put down a deposit. I would just try to connect with people and let them know exactly what it's going to be before you put so much out there, because things are going to change even in the midst of a retreat. Like everything's written in pencil for our stuff. If there's a friggin' lightning storm or a snowstorm coming through, well, guess what? We're not going to the top of the mountain today. So
Right.
it doesn't matter how well I marketed that route. It's not going to happen today anyway. So you got to have that flexibility, which is huge. I mean, we move things around. I mean, the timeline, we do a sample itinerary. We tell everybody it's a sample. It's even a sample when you show up. And if we
Great
got to
advice.
change things, we're going to change things. You got to be flexible.
Okay, so I just want to follow you touched on deposit. We didn't cover that. How do you think about deposits? 10%, 20%? How do you think about them?
What do we do? I think we do like 20 to 25%.
Okay.
It's
Okay,
actually it's
got it.
actually like a flat 500 instead
Okay.
of, it's not a
So
percentage. So
got it.
and that just
Do you offer
it's
scholarships, things like that?
yeah, we have in the past for sure.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
offered scholarships. Like we allow payment plans as long as it's all paid up by the time they show up. So that
Wow,
works
great.
out well. We didn't do that until about probably 2 or 3 years ago, but for some younger people that want to come out who don't have quite as much disposable just sitting in the account, like they can kind of budget for it. So it ends up being a couple, $200-300 a month for 5 or 6 months, which is cool for people. Um, what else do we do? Yeah, we allow people to pay up front. We do single and double occupancy. So if you want to have a little bit
Oh,
cheaper, a little
yeah.
more economic situation, and you're bringing a roommate, then the cost is going to be a couple $100 cheaper for the week. So stuff like
Our
that.
problem is we don't have any double rooms. We only have queen beds. So
Yeah, that's tough.
you, it's either couples or because some of our bathrooms have frosted glass.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
so,
Yes.
and then when we built
Awkward.
the facility, we only had, I mean, we have six that have their own independent. The rest, there's no, every room's got an ensuite, but we built the sconces and the nightstands so we can't even add beds.
That's great.
So I want to just cover what I heard because I want to do is just to make sure that if people were kind of zoned out during, I heard community first is really much easier. Um, Less is more, so don't stack up your retreats. Low expectations because perfection is the enemy of good. Be creative about deposit, be creative about price, and have that minimum and be flexible about the kind of number that you're willing to have, and then include other people to have more of a high touch relationship. Am I missing any other tips or tricks that you might advise other organizers?
No, the minimum is really just based. It's not even based on a monetary thing. You should be making, for things to be sustainable, you should be making money off of every single person that shows up so that you can do, this is
Sure.
business. You got to be able to cover those. It's really more of at least 6 people allows for a couple small groups to kind of, because you want people to have things in common. And the one
Yeah.
time I did 4 people, it was all 4 people didn't have anything in common. It made it really awkward. So it's more of a flow and an energy thing
Right.
than the
They're
money
fucking
thing.
like sitting alone, eating their own like sandwich,
It's
and
weird, man. Well, it was just a weird group. I've told stories privately to people about this group. It's funny. It's just nobody meshed. It's like I'm pulling my freaking hair out to get people to connect on this one. But that, and then my wife could tell you a million crazy stories. She did a retreat a couple months ago, and a lady showed up at the hotel that doesn't allow dogs with 2 of her dogs. Kept them in the room for the whole weekend without telling anybody. Was sneaking them around. Like, for you guys who are on the other end of the retreats, don't bring your dogs to a hotel that doesn't allow dogs. What are you doing? It's
well,
crazy.
I mean, actually, let me rephrase that. A retreat organizer that really gives a shit would find. And I know you would. Had you known about the dogs, we just find a place for them to be for that weekend.
Absolutely.
Go. I don't dog storage. What's it called?
Like a
Like
boarding
dog.
joint.
Yeah, board. Yeah, yeah. Not
There's like
storage.
10 of them out here. Just
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Just
thirty
yeah.
bucks a day.
All right. Upcoming retreats, Scott. Bring us home. What do you got? Where can people find you? I want to go do this. Where do I go? What's going on?
Yes. Our signature event is in May every year. It's right in between spring and summer. The weather is generally like perfect 70s, maybe low 80s, but usually in the 70s. May 14th through 17th. It's out here in Palisade, Colorado. It's wine country on the western slope of the state. It's a beautiful place. Everything's bloomed up and really pretty by that time of year. You can find that at becomingultra.com. And then my wife's business is all women. It's Life's Too Short Fitness with the number 2 in there. And she's doing stuff in the Dominican. She's doing a winter retreat up in the high country in Colorado. She's in
Wow.
Costa Rica, Mexico, and a couple other ones in the States. So you can find that over there too.
Hell yeah. And then how many folks come into the May event?
We usually get like 10 to 14 is about average
Okay.
out there.
So this
Yeah.
is like high end, like get your shit together and go to this if you want to even experiment with trail running and getting better.
Yeah. I mean, I think we had 16 once as the highest I would ever take.
Yeah, that's a lot.
16. So
That's a lot. That's a
yeah.
lot. Awesome. Well, dude, this was such a great conversation. Appreciate your rapid fire. You obviously have experience and I really enjoyed it, man. Thank you.
Heck yeah. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.